The following video is sponsored by Skillshare. Stay tuned for a message later on in the video. The Zonai is an obsession. The Zonai is love. The Zonai could be the key to it all. Or are they much closer to the Gerudo tribe than we thought, say sharing a similar heritage before they went on to teach the poor old man over here tens of thousand-year-long lessons? It is entirely possible. And over 2 videos with Masked Nintendo Bandit, we will go deep to see if the Zonai plus Gerudo equals true, here on the Commonwealth Realm, and how we all might have been wrong about the Gerudo heroine statues on Masked Nintendo Bandit's channel. So be sure to leave a like, and if you're new, subscribe to our 2 channels with notification bells on. Indeed, the Gerudo might be hiding a Zonai secret, as the history according to Creating a Champion appears to be a blank slate between the sealing of Ganondorf in the distant past to the events 100 years ago. At the same time, the letters we see flying up from the green hand, holding and sucking up malice from Ganondorf in the sequel's reveal trailer are Gerudo, and translates to Ganon's seal. So does this mean that the Zonai are just Gerudo who expanded beyond Gerudo territory to the luscious Faron and across the borderlands of Hyrule? And were the Zonai Gerudo? Possibly, but obviously there's one heavy counter-argument. The fact that Gerudo only get female offspring, except every 100 years when they give birth to a male. Much like the Polish village Miejsce Odrzańskie, only in that case the wait for a boy was 10 years, so hopefully he will not end up as Poland's Ganondorf. Or what is even funnier is that the German name for the village is Mistitz. Wait, Mistitz? Joking aside, I just wanted to bring up the practice of Hylians being required to maintain the Gerudo race. Unless the Zonai were another humanoid race alongside the Sheikah and Gerudo. Or what do you say, Masked Nintendo Bandit?
Mr. Commonwealth Realm. This might sound crazy, but the Gerudo may have once again been forced to intermarry with the weaker Hylian populace. And the reason for this may have been that the more courageous Zonai/Faron people were no longer around.
Remember that both the Gerudo and the Zonai appear to have been warriors, only different kinds of warriors, with the Gerudo valuing the virtue of power, while the Zonai preferred courage. But why not have both? And that is how the neighboring Gerudo and Zonai might have found each other. You know, the Gerudo women seeking out warriors to give birth to warriors of their own. And thus, relations beyond love could have resulted in a cultural exchange, one where the Zonai eventually adopted the Gerudo language instead of the Hylian or Sheikah, and the Gerudo adopted the Zonai culture of lightning and thunder. But first, let's split up our clues into easily identifiable categories, like geography, language, culture, and military. Then we'll come to a conclusion based off of what we find. For everyone who's been exploring the deep south of Hyrule, you've probably noticed that the Gerudo and Faron provinces, despite being polar opposites in terms of climate, do share recognition from each other. The Zonai, who might have built the South Lomai Labyrinth in the Gerudo lands and also recognize them through their highest virtue power, which is symbolized as the boar, we find to the west of the Zonai ruins and its dragons, much like we find the Sheikah Owl of Wisdom to the east of the dragons.
The Faron Zonai may have had contacts with both, as they bordered 3 of the 7 other provinces of Hyrule, and with it 3 different races. To the west, the Gerudo, to the north, the Hylians of central Hyrule, and to the east, the highly intelligent Sheikah of Necluda. With the Hylians, they were most likely in a state of war until sometime in the distant past, when the threat of Ganondorf forced the 2 adversaries to work together against the Miser's curse. The Sheikah and the Zonai most likely didn't bother each other, while at the same time admired each other's commitment to the virtues of wisdom and courage, while the Zonai and Gerudo became partners as the closest neighbors with a common rival, the Hylians. The loyal Sheikah would not betray the blood of the goddess and her people yet. But the Gerudo had no such divine obligation to the Hylians. They likely saw the Zonai as the best source of keeping the Gerudo tribe alive, but also safe from Hylian expansionism, and this intermingling most likely resulted in a common language. But you know what also helps connecting people? Yes, Nokia, but also Skillshare, the online community which helps you pursue your passions. If you want to make videos like this one and the one on Masked Nintendo Bandit's channel, then you need to learn video editing. And you can avoid my early struggles with classes by filmmaker Jordi Vanderput, who offers excellent beginner and more advanced classes on Premiere Pro, the editing software we use. Want to add live action footage like in this video as well? Then Vimeo's Mark Cerso Simo has plenty of skills to share through his Creating Pro videos with tools you already own series. And that is the point with Skillshare, aiding beginners and experienced creators like. I, for instance, still need to get better at animations in After Effects. Luckily, Jake Bartlett has gotten me covered with his class, and there are plenty of others in fields like photography, manga drawing, and much more. So use the link in the description below, as the first 1000 of you will get a free trial of Skillshare Premium, and after that it's just $10 per month. But now, let's get back to the theory. The Zonai and Gerudo may have had a shared language, at least by the time when the hand first got its grip on Ganondorf. Throughout history, cultures that have intermingled often ended up assimilated, and no other form of assimilation is as permanent as language. The spoken word which brings two different people even closer to each other. In Europe, this has been commonplace by economic incentives or by pure force. But in the case of the Zonai, it seems that this form of assimilation was of their own will, an understanding that nearly all of the Gerudo females were likely also considered Zonai at this point. Since it is very possible that this intermingling of cultures, being trade, exchange of military equipment, skills, traditions, and so on, could have resulted within these two warrior cultures into relationships. And where the Zonai, after the birth of Gerudo females, wanted to speak in the language of their Gerudo daughters. Well, that and the Zonai seeing the Gerudo as their only true friends, and only the Hylian spirit of the hero, when he would return, commanded more respect from the Zonai.
Which brings us over to the culture of the two tribes. As previously mentioned, both are fascinated with thunder. It's just that the Gerudo likely assimilated to this culture the same way the Zonai assimilated to use the Gerudo language and alphabet. The source of the fascination of electricity and thunder comes from the green spiritual power of the goddess of life and courage, Faron, and the deity of the Zonai, Farosh, who is a spirit of lightning who has taken the form of a giant dragon. Electricity and lightning, which the Zonai were obsessed with, and though the Gerudo were not as obsessed with this element, they still greatly respected and mastered the thunder and lightning. Clear examples of this are Urbosa's Fury, also known as the power of green handed over to Link in the era of the Wild, and the legendary Thunder Helm, all of which are examples that the Gerudo maintained at least some of the heritage they gained from their cultural exchanges with the Zonai.
Though what made them love the tribe was none other than their shared warrior lifestyles. A good warrior comes from good warrior genes, and both the Zonai and the Gerudo are known for being capable fighters who can hold their ground even against the numerically superior Hylians. From a young age, the Gerudo are either trained to excel and defend their tribe from intruders, particularly male intruders, but in the past, other intruders as well. While in the case of the Zonai, we have the Barbarian Set and Warpaint, which comes with the following description. The Barbarian Helm, a helmet once worn by the warriors of an ancient warlike tribe from the Faron region. The Barbarian Armor, armor once favored by an ancient warlike tribe from the Faron region. Equipping it boosts your attack power. The same goes for the leg wraps. Combined, the Barbarian Set greatly bolsters your fighting spirit, that being stamina and attack strength, which explains the set bonus, charge attack stamina up. This set made the Zonai Barbarian Warriors stronger, more fierce, and most of all, courageous on the battlefield. The ultimate virtue of the Zonai, which was greatly beneficial for the Gerudo females, looking for Zonai males in the region. Female warriors meeting male warriors and giving warriors offspring. This way, the Gerudo could have maintained great genes and the military prowess beyond training.
Combined, the geography, culture, after a little while shared language, and warrior lifestyles show us how similar and likely connected the Gerudo and Zonai are. Obviously, there is also the different alternative that the Zonai could just be the old Gerudo, but this possibility of a split similar to the later Sheikah and Yiga clan is a little less certain due to the lack of male births, unless a Gerudo schism happened as a result of a Gerudo male, just like possibly this guy. Since keep in mind, a male Gerudo is still born every 100 years, according to legend. Only by the time of the era of the Wild, they are kicked out of Gerudo Town, Gerudo or not. Now imagine one of these unwanted souls leaving the Gerudo Desert for Faron and founding there a new tribe of his own, bringing over his language, culture, and warrior-like traditions. Over time, these would obviously be altered by the new tropical environment and their new deity and virtue of courage instead of power. Now imagine this new tribe founded by a Gerudo male popping up and blocking the access to the southern sea for the Kingdom of Hyrule. Yeah, that would piss off the Hylians majorly and bring them on a path of war against these new barbarians. After all, I'm sure they remember all too well the danger of male Gerudo leaders.
With all this in mind, what do you think? Were the Zonai a completely independent tribe which was only over time closely connected with the Gerudo, or could the Zonai actually derive from the Gerudo? Sound off which theory sounds better in the comment section down below. And yes, eventually the Zonai tribe likely disappeared during the Greatest Hour, which brought the seal on Ganondorf. But did the Gerudo commemorate their former allies or brothers? Yes, absolutely, and in a bigger way than any other, close to Mount Agat. But that is a theory that we'll explore on Masked Nintendo Bandit's channel. But before you head over there in the end card, be sure to smash that like button so that more people can see it. And if you haven't already, subscribe to Commonwealth Realm and Masked Nintendo Bandit. A big thanks goes as always to all our great patrons, and in particular royal producer Charles Shash. But now be sure to check out these awesome videos.